Today's video is brought to you by Personal Injury Lawyers. With fancy ass numbers, give them a call, you know the number. Complain to someone else about your problems. Don't be a bitch.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Bad Medicine, episode 4, our Halloween special. Ooh. We are going to be going through each of the Friday the 13th movies. I think you'll enjoy it. We're going to check out each kill and do like we always do. We're going to break it down, and I'll tell you what's going on. So stick around. Here we go. Yeah, Kevin Bacon's dead. First of all, drugs are bad, okay? Right off the bat, I was doing my research on this one. Having a wound in the neck or something like that, you gotta worry about blood loss, obviously. That's the biggest one. You've gotta worry about the arrow going through any major, arteries. I was kind of reading that a lot of deer hunters go for neck shot, and they kind of drop minutes after the fact. That definitely can be the case in a lot of it. The reason I say that is because I was also reading about it. If you completely sever the carotid artery, which is what I wanted to focus on here, which is the one artery that brings oxygenated blood to the brain, if you completely sever it, yes, you can actually lose yourself in about 30 seconds. But generally, the rule of thumb is in about 2 to 5 minutes. If your brain completely goes without unoxygenated blood, you can actually start to suffer a lot of brain damage. Now, with a case like this, if you're forcefully putting an arrow through some dude's neck or some person's neck, there's going to be a lot of trauma to any kind of tissue that's going around there. And another thing I want to kind of mention too is that a lot of times the arteries can retract into the body. They're kind of elastic. It's kind of like taking a piece of rubber band, stretching it, and then all of a sudden cutting it. They just kind of retract to each side. It's hard to reconnect. Yes, this guy would die. So we're going to move on to the next clip here. The next one is Friday the 13th Part 2. This is actually the one when Jason starts to be the killer for the show and not his mother. Jason kind of puts on his big boy pants and starts killing people.
Where is she?
Okay. First of all, I don't know why old boy here decided to take the dull end of the machete and cut this dude's neck. We'll just go with the theory that they were trying to actually use the sharp side of the machete. If you are forceful enough, you're going to cut not only the surrounding tissue, but you're going to cut the trachea, which is also known as the windpipe. You're going to sever the carotid artery, which is what we mentioned for Friday the 13th Part 1. You're also going to sever the jugular vein. Yes, so basically the jugular vein, which is the main pumping force of the heart, which takes blood to and fro. So basically, yes, if you sever the jugular, the carotid, and the trachea, which is also known as the windpipe, yes, you can actually kill a person within 2 to 5 minutes of blood loss. Now we're going to move on to Part 3, Friday the 13th. This is the one where the iconic hockey mask comes out. I love how dramatic this is.
Everything all right?
Where are you? Well, clearly, not everything's all right. think that's every woman's dream, a man who doesn't talk. Jesus. Right there. Stop everything. It is a fucking myth. Fucking myth that a eyeball can actually pop out of a head and dangle by the optic nerve. That is fucking completely wrong. I want you to look at me right now. That is a false thing. An eyeball can pop out of the socket, but it cannot dangle by the optic nerve like a fucking yo-yo. That is not possible. At the very most, an eyeball will pop out of the socket, but it will very, very slightly bulge out, kind of looking like, do you remember the old videos with the lady who could pop her eyeballs out of her socket? That's about the extent that you can get with that. An eyeball can actually pop out of your skull under severe trauma. Crushing a head with human hands is not one of those cases, and I will explain later in a few other clips.
Hey Ted, where's that corkscrew, that fancy corkscrew for the wine bottle? Ted?
It's Crispin Glover. And this dude's just watching porn.
Hey! Ted! Ted! Hey Ted, where the hell's the corkscrew?
Found it. Okay. Corkscrew in the hand. We'll start with that one. That's pretty simple. That's not very lethal. You have a lot of tissue in your hand. That's actually not the concern. The concern is you actually have bones in the palm of your hand that are connected approximately 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I would say definitely not lethal. It would be very painful and require a few surgeries depending on how damaging the corkscrew going through the hand was. The concern I have is the machete in the face. Yeah, definitely not a very likely chance that you're going to survive that. First of all, the face and the skull is very vascular. You've got a lot of blood vessels going there. You have a lot of sensitive tissues that are inside of the skull and the brain. You have eyes, you have millions of blood vessels going through there. Pretty simple, but I mean, it's pretty much common sense. I mean, there have been cases of people surviving things like that. In this case, yeah, probably not gonna survive that. Road flare. That's a new one.
What are you doing, douchebag?
Giving you light.
Enough already, you can stop. Would you cut it out? Pete!
Okay. I'm just going to go right off the bat and tell you, tissue burns. A road flare burns at about 191 degrees Celsius. Human tissue actually burns at about approximately 118 degrees Celsius. Do the math. Getting a road flare in the mouth, probably not going to be very survivable. I mean, it really depends. Like, it looks like he was just kind of ramming it in there like a virgin on prom night. Probably could be pretty damaging. I mean, you're going to worry about bleeding, damage to the brain, the spine, tons of things, like a lot of sensitive tissues that really hurt by being burned. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and say this guy probably wouldn't survive this one. If you can actually survive deep throating a fucking road flare, then kudos to you. Wow. Maggots? Yeah, that's maggots. Light a match in the ring. Jesus. Okay, so the old punch through the chest trick, eh? From the research I've done, it generally takes over 2,000 pounds of force to actually punch through a human body. That's just what I've read and what I've been taught. The human body can actually, through a punch, the general average of that is about 320 pounds of force. A human being can't punch through another human being's body. That's just not possible unless you are a fucking mutant or a superhero. That is just not possible. You've got so many tissues and bones and organs that are just blocking that. And side note here, the female breastbone is actually thicker than the male breastbone. That's going to be 10 times as unlikely. There is no possible way that a human being can punch through another human being's chest. Okay, so this next clip is from Friday 7. This is my personal favorite. There's actually 2 clips that I wanted to look at with this one. The iconic sleeping bag kill, and then there's also the head crush kill that I wanted to look at, and that's just for my personal weirdness.
Dan, what are you doing?
Killing you, apparently. Alright. I know in the movie it looked like he swung her by her legs into the tree. We'll just go with the theory that he swung her the other way by her legs into the tree. There could be a lot of damaging things with that. The main concern that I would have is concussion. So concussion, obviously, we've discussed concussions before. Damaging neurologically, you can worry about the secondary impact with the brain. There could be brain bleeds. It can definitely kill you depending on the force that is exuded. So there have been automotive accidents that have happened where people have completely put their heads through, windshields or, just damaged their brains in general. I don't know a person that could take another person by the legs and swing them into a tree, and yes, it's very lethal. Like I spoke about in the clip with the dangling eye, it would take about 2,000 pounds of force to actually crush a human skull. You could be the toughest guy in the world. You cannot crush a human skull with human hands. That is just not possible. Skull injuries, cranial injuries are very, very dangerous. It is possible to suffer a casualty from having your head crushed. As far as a person crushing your head, not possible. We're going to move on to our last clip here. This is from one of my other favorites of this series. This is Jason Goes to Manhattan. He's starting to get tired now. He's dead, motherfucker. You ain't gonna hurt him. Come on. Alright. I got one good one in there. Come on. Okay. Yeah, he's getting tired now. Hands are all bloody. Probably not a good idea to box someone when they're wearing a hockey mask.
Your best shot. Motherfucker.
KO. First of all, let me just tell you, that motherfucker is dead. But on a serious note, no, that is not possible. To punch a man's head off of his shoulders, that is just not possible. That goes back to the rule that we were just talking about. It does take about over 2,000 pounds of force to do any type of damage to bone. Generally with decapitations, that is an instant kill. Unless this is the future and you can reattach heads to bodies, you cannot survive a decapitation. So yeah, he's fucking dead. Well, that about wraps up our Halloween special here. We did the entire Friday the 13th series for all of you Jason fans out there. For those of you guys that are thinking, well, why didn't he do Jason Goes to Hell? Why didn't he do Jason versus Freddy? Freddy versus Jason. Why didn't he do Jason X? I just wanted to basically just kind of focus on the originals. I'm a big Kane Hodder fan. He played Jason in Friday the 13th Part 7 and 8, and he was in Jason X as well for the naysayers. And we are kind of sticking to the 80s theme here in this season as well. Who knows? Maybe in future seasons I might touch on those. I'm glad you tuned in. Thank you very much. Do not forget to subscribe and comment on the videos and give me likes. Thank you for tuning into Bad Medicine. I'm John. Have a safe night.